Now we're on Daf Vav Amud Beis. So now he reverses, and instead of using a language of Shichrur Shivcha for Kiddushin, he uses a language of Kiddushin for Shichrur Shivcha. And he says to Shivcha, Re'at Muteres L'chol Adam Lo Amar Klum. Now here I have a problem, because as a result of the Shichrur, she's allowed to marry a Jew. So we would think that the language of Arei Muteres L'chol Adam should be appropriate.
That's the normal language for a get, isn't it?
Yeah, you're right. But I'm just wondering, why can't the language be appropriate for both? So I think what it goes like this, that you're right. As a result of the Shichrur, she can marry anyone. She's no longer a Shivcha. But that's not what Shichrur is all about. Shichrur is Afkas Bailus Mamonis. It undermines and terminates the monetary ownership. As a result, she's no longer a Shivcha. In the case of a get, the essence of the get is to permit her to marry another man. That's the Afkas Ishus. But the Afkas Bailus, in the case of Shivcha, is not Arei Muteres L'chol Adam. We go on. The Gemara says that the language of you offer yourself is ambiguous. Should we say Limalacha Kamala? Within the context of marriage in Ksuba, we have something called Maisia de Lebaila. And now he's saying, you know what? I'm freeing you from all your responsibility to bring in your wages. Maybe he means that as far as Ishus is concerned, he's removing the Ishus. Ravashi, Toshma, Tisanya, we learned in a Brisa, Gufo shall get Shichur. In the case of being a Shachar, a Shivcha, or an Evet, Hareato ben Chorin, or Hareato liatzmecha. Now here, Ira, according to your logic, it seems that Hareato liatzmecha is a language of Shichur Evet, and therefore it should not be valid for Gerushin. But the Gemara says just the opposite. If it's valid for Shichur Evet, then how much more so is it a valid language for Gerushin? With a Kal V'chomer. What's the Kal V'chomer? Hashto ma Evet Kanani dekoni le gufe. In the case of an Evet Kanani where the master owns the gufa Evet, he has a kinyan gufa. And ki omer lo harei atoli atzmecha legamri ka omer le. The language of harei atzmecha is so powerful that it could even remove a full-fledged kinyan aguf. Is isha de lo kani le gufe, where the kinyan is less profound, he doesn't own her guf. Well, kol shkein, how much more so? Harei atli atzmech should be a valid lashon. He doesn't really use a language of shichrur. He only removes his asek. Is that a valid language of shichrur? I'm reading ainli asek b'cha legamri kamala. He's completely freeing him, removing his bilus over the evidence. Maybe he's saying, you know what? You work, bring in wages, and you take the wages and put it in your bank account. Rav Nachman, Rav Ashi, V'amar Rav Hanan Mechuzol, Rav Ashi, Toshma, Hamocher Avdoliyote Kochavim. A man sells his evet to a guy. We impose a knas. He says here it's not a knas. Oh yeah, the sage is penalized. You see that? Note number 10. The sages penalized a Jewish master who sells an eved to a guy and requires him to redeem the servant from the Gentile. So that redemption is a get shifra. Rav Shimon ben Gamliel b'medvar mamurim shelo kosav olav ono aval kosav olav ono zeu shifuro. So what is this ono? Ono is some sort of a shtar. So where it says hechi domyon. Rav Sheish is the kosav lo. He writes on a shtar on behalf of the Eved. I'm freeing you. You just have to run away from your non-Jewish master. And Ainli Asikbach, that was exactly the suffix of Ravina. And now we have an answer to Ravina's question that Ainli Asikbach is indeed a valid language of Shikr Eved. If a man marries a woman by transferring a loan, let's say somebody owes him money and he wants to transfer the loan over to the Isha, that's not valid Kiddushin. Now, if he says Hanas Milva, being Mekadesh you with the benefit that you get from this loan, then it's Mekudeshes. But take a look at Rashi for a moment here. Rashi says, Dibra Masechet Mekudeshes, Milva lo tzad nitna. So Rashi is learning here that she owes him money, he owns a loan that she borrowed money from him, and now he's saying, I want to be Mekadesh to you with that loan. Rashi says, Milva lo tzad. The money that was given to her as a loan is her money. It's not his. And therefore he's not giving her anything. Unless he says, Ba'anas Milva, and then he's giving her Hana, which is worth a pruta. However, V'yosur Lasus, King says, Abai, we don't allow this. Mipnei haramas ribis, because it's a kind of ribis. Right, he's gaining a benefit from the loan, and anytime the malva gets a benefit from the lova through the loan, that's called ribis. But here it's only haramas ribis because it's not ribis ktsutza. They never set up this ribis from the get-go in the loan, but by benefiting from the loan, he is violating an isa ribis derabbanan called haramas ribis. So the Gemara asks the following: Hi anos milva hechi dam. What is this case where Abai validates the Kiddushin if he adds the Hana element? The Askafa, if it means that there was Ribis Ktsutsa, the Amar Allah, Arba Bechamisha, I'm giving you 4, you have to give me back 5. And now he says to her, you know what? You keep the extra 5. Her ribis ma'al yasahu. This is real ribis. Why does Abai say that this is also lasos ke mishum haramas ribis? This is mamish ribis doraisa. It was ribis ktsutza. V'yod hainu milva. And furthermore, she owes him that 5th part because that was the original agreement stipulation in the loan. And Abai himself says that a Mekadesh b'milva ain't a Mekudeshes. Lo tzricha da'arvech le'zimna. We're not talking about a case where she has to pay him 5 for the 4, and that would be ribis doraisa, but rather she has to pay him 4 for the 4. But she has to pay him by the end of the month, and he says to her, you know what? I'll be Mekadesh you, and you don't have to pay me at the end of the month, you'll pay me in a year. and now she has access and use to the funds for a full year, an extra 11 months, and with that hanois mekadish. That's called Shavah Pruta. What if he makes a deal in which the money that's being paid for the purchase is going to be given back by virtue of a condition from the from the lokeach to the mocher. So I'm selling you an object, and I say to you, here's I'm selling you an object. And you'll pay me for the object, but I'm giving you the object only on a conditional basis, on a temporary basis, and I expect you to give me back the object. If it was a sale, then the sale is not valid. So this is called a matana manas lahachzir lo shmei matana be'isha mekudeshes and be'pidyon ben ein beno podui and be'truma yotzi yedei nesina v'yosolasis came nation nira kekoin hamisayeh v'beis hagronus. So Gemara asks the following question: Micah Savarom, Ika Savar matana manas lahachzir shmei matana is afilu kula nami. Not only should this be considered valid in the case of truma, but it should be valid also in the cases of mecher, kiddushin, and pidyon haben. Because of a lo shmei matana, if it's not a gift, then I feel b'truma nami lo. Even in truma, it should not be considered a scene of truma. The ode, and furthermore, Rava who the matana manasa haksa shmei matana. The Rava helich esrog zel manasha taxirei nitolovech zero yotza. The imlav lo yotza. So we see that Rava is committed to the position that matana manasa haksa shmei matana. So how can he tell me now that in the cases of mecher, kiddushin, and pidyon haben, matana manasa haksa, namely helich mona manasha taxirei is not valid? We have to reformulate Rava's statement. Only in Kiddushin it's not valid. In other words, if that which he's giving to her for Kiddushin has to be returned to him, that's like chalipin. Because chalipin is also a case where you make a maisa kinyan, but you don't actually transfer anything over. Like, for example, let's say you use a shoe, right? So you get the shoe back. You use a kerchief, you get the kerchief back. You use a pen, you get the pen back. And eino isha niknes bechalipin. And here there's a long footnote about why chalipin doesn't operate and is not valid in Kiddushin. But the bottom line is because she doesn't have das makna unless she receives something. And in chalipin, although it's a formal kinyan, and so to matana masahaksa, but she really doesn't receive anything, and therefore she doesn't have das mak. Amalei Rav Huna Brei the Rav Chemila Rav Ashi Hachi Nami Mishmei the Rav Kavasa. In other words, Rav Huna says to Rav Ashi, that's how we had a Kabbalah a transmission in the name of Rav exactly as you had presented. That Bekulu Kani, that as a general rule, the principle is Matana Masu Shmei Matana, with the exception of Kiddushin, because Eino Isha Niknes Bechalifa. Omar Rav Atain Mana Leploni. All right, this is a brand new sugi. This is the sugi of Arev. Mekudeshes Midin Arev. Okay, then we'll stop here.
All right, so have a nice vacation.
Yeah, thank you. So we had a little bit of a miracle that we got access to a Gemara Kiddushin.
Okay, Shkoyach.